Welcome to today's Explainer class. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here because today we're diving into a really wild story. We are going to look at how a completely ignored, essentially forgotten wilderness accidentally transformed into the richest and most powerful nation in human history. It's a story packed with unexpected twists, massive political turning points, and honestly, some absolutely crazy real estate deals. You look at a map today and you kind of think America's path to being a global powerhouse was this perfectly planned master strategy from day one. But as we're going to see, its rise to number one was completely unexpected. So let's get right into it. Here is our syllabus for today's session. We're going to cover 1. The ignored wilderness, 2. Diverging imperial strategies, 3. The cost of empire, 4. Forging a new government, 5. The great land buy, and finally, 6, expanding from sea to sea.
All right, Section 1, the ignored wilderness. Okay, picture this. It's 1492 and Christopher Columbus sails west. He is desperately looking for Asian spices, but instead, he literally bumps right into the Caribbean. He's completely confused, and when he reports back to the King and Queen of Spain, he has to admit, well, no spices, but he spins it. He tells me he found something way better: gold. The King of Spain's eyes basically turn into cartoon dollar signs, and he immediately orders Columbus to go back and bring it all home. And because of this absolute laser-focused fixation on immediate wealth, the entire northern continent, which didn't seem to have any of those shiny riches just lying around, was effectively written off. It was just largely ignored for over 100 years.
Moving on to Section 2, diverging imperial strategies. Now this is a massive political turning point. Spain and Portugal literally draw a line down the middle of the world map to just split the globe between them. Spain goes all in on the South, Central and South America, chasing that gold for immediate extraction. That's their whole game plan. And by going south, Spain basically leaves what they considered the useless North behind. Well, enter the British. Since the South was already taken, the British strategy was forced to focus on the North. After a famously disastrous failed attempt at settling Roanoke, the British eventually figured it out. They settled Jamestown, the Pilgrims landed Plymouth, and here's the key difference. Rather than just extracting gold and leaving, they built permanent settlements. Slowly but surely, the entire East Coast gets covered in British colonies. Section 3. The cost of empire.
So let's jump forward a bit. By 1754, the continent is effectively split right down the middle. British on the East Coast, French in the middle. Naturally, sparks fly over who actually owns what, and boom, we get the massive French and Indian War. Now, the crucial takeaway here is that while Britain absolutely wins this war, taking Canada and vast chunks of French land, they basically bankrupt themselves doing it. They completely run out of money. And that resulting mountain of debt forces the British king to turn around and look at the colonists. His logic was pretty straightforward. Hey, we just fought a war to protect you, so now we're going to tax your everyday stuff, like tea and paper, to foot the bill.
But, the colonists didn't quite see it that way. Not at all. And you'll definitely want to remember this exact phrase for the exam: no taxation without representation. It's a simple, brilliant argument. The colonists were saying they absolutely could not be legally taxed by a British king because they had zero vote and zero voice in the British government. And it was exactly this lack of representation that sparked the intense anger that would literally ignite a revolution.
Which brings us to Section 4, forging a new government.
So that big argument over taxes blows up into a full-scale revolution. On July 4th, 1776, Americans officially declared their independence. But here's the thing: winning the war was really only half the battle. Throughout the 1780s, their first attempt at running a country was, frankly, a total disaster. The 13 colonies were functioning like 13 completely separate, totally disorganized little boxes that just couldn't agree on a single thing. It wasn't until 1789, with the drafting of a brand new constitution and the incredibly unifying leadership of President George Washington, that they finally managed to knit these chaotic states together into a real, functional government.
All right, Section 5, the Great Land Buy. So now they have a country, but it's pretty small. How does this new nation double its size? Enter Napoleon Bonaparte. France owned the massive Louisiana territory right next door at the time. The American envoys actually went to France just hoping to buy the single port city of New Orleans for a few $1,000,000 just to keep their trade routes safe. But Napoleon was absolutely desperate for quick cash. He wanted to launch a massive invasion against Great Britain, so he gives them the deal of a lifetime. He effectively says, you know what, take the entire middle of the continent for $15 million. I just really need to buy some cannons.
I mean, can you imagine? For a mere $15 million, the Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of the United States, literally overnight. Suddenly, their borders just explode westward, stretching entirely across the Midwest. It was a stroke of absolute, mind-boggling luck that forever changed the geopolitical landscape.
Section 6. Expanding from sea to sea.
Class, demographics are destiny. During this period in history, American families were averaging 7 children. 7! This intense, explosive population growth meant that everyone was desperately running out of room. They needed space. So the push into the western frontier wasn't just some grand political ambition cooked up in Washington. It was a practical, on-the-ground necessity. You had pioneer families packing everything they owned into wagons and just speeding west across the map, desperately looking for room to live and farm.
In this rapid expansion, it played out like a giant geopolitical domino effect. In a span of just 50 years, the United States aggressively filled out the rest of the map. Step 1, the Louisiana Purchase from France. Step 2, they buy Florida from Spain. Step 3, Texas breaks away from Mexico and joins the US. And finally, Step 4, President James K. Polk grabs the entire West Coast following a really ugly war with Mexico. Through this chaotic, messy combination of intense luck, strategic treaties, and outright military force, they relentlessly pushed their borders all the way from sea to sea. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to take a step back and reflect on this incredible journey. We started with an entirely ignored wilderness that early European explorers literally bypassed because it didn't have easy gold. And in just a couple of centuries, it transforms into a transcontinental powerhouse. It's wild. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought to ponder before our next session. Now that the map is full and the frontier is officially closed, what happens when this transcontinental superpower steps onto the global stage? How is this accidental empire going to handle the world wars that are waiting just around the